Everyone to stick with us versus her. We're going to be talking about Alibaba specifically, but also includes most of other Chinese names that, kind of went crazy today. And before we get into that, I do want to offer some sort of like disclaimer that, this rally and, everything that happens to the stock. I mean, as long as the US and China are kind of going to be at each other's throats, whether, starting in 2018 with the tariffs and all that, and then just recently with, I'm not going to say it because, you guys kind of know what's going on worldwide because YouTube has been flagging people, taking things down. So let's just leave it at that. There's a lot of tension worldwide. US and China are not necessarily in agreement at all the time. And, from delisting the stocks from our exchanges to tariffs to, it's been a messy, I guess since like 2018, between China and the U.S. It's gotten messy. And obviously because, we're obviously competing with China. China wants to be the number one spot where they potentially could be. Whatever the case is, a lot of things have been going on. Why the stock has been so low is because of different policies and things that have been happening. It's not because the companies aren't of a good value, but just be mindful if you're trading these stocks that if a policy hits or if the White House does something regarding China or China does something regarding to the U.S., these things are going to drop like a rock, just like they have been. Now, today there was good news, and the thing is, it was 100% China-induced. Now, before we get into it, if you want to join our communities, we have a Discord and an option trading group on Facebook. Would love to see you there. So let's get into it. What happened today? So China approved 60 new video game licenses, says bolstering bets that its year-long crackdown that wiped out $2 trillion in market cap value from the sector was nearing its end. The gauge pushed further away from its recent downtrend and climbed above a key moving average for the first time in 15 months, which we're gonna cover. But I want to just kind of highlight another part of this article here. It says the gaming approvals come on the heels of a report that this week that China is wrapping up its investigation into Didi, a major flashpoint in Beijing's move to curb the power and influence of the nation's largest companies. To some investors, this suggests a marked turnaround in a sector that until recently had been considered uninvestable. And they have been using that term for quite a few years, that China stocks are uninvestable because so much was going on, in terms of policy. China didn't like what was going on with the U.S. They wanted to cut off funding for these companies. China wants to protect Chinese companies. They didn't want to have access to, the global markets like they are now. And, just got pretty crazy. It says, having spent most of the past year under pressure, China's tech gauge has also started to outperform the Nasdaq 100. So, things are getting a little crazy here. Is this the end? Could drama pick back up for these stocks? Could China reverse and flip and say, hey, we want to go back the other way? Absolutely. So just be mindful. Alibaba, a long time ago, we'll look at the chart, was at the top of my list. I thought it could be the next Amazon, right? I thought it could be huge. I'm there's no way in the next 5 to 10 years, this is not going to be worth, it's not going to be, more than, less than $1,000 a share. I'm there's no way. It's got to be $1,000 a share or more. It's huge. They do a lot of things in terms of the cloud, in terms of, obviously they compete directly with Amazon. They have warehouses all over the world. They have data centers all over the world. They got into entertainment. They are huge. But then what happened was that whole thing with basically Jack Ma, and then they started cracking down, and then Jack Ma went missing. The things were crazy for China stocks, but Alibaba specifically, where they wanted to knock Jack Ma down a couple rungs because he was getting, on a global scale, he was getting big, and you don't hear from Jack anymore. He's kind of retired. They removed him, and with it, so did the stock. The stock, was hitting back here. It was hitting at $319 and recently hit a low of $73. It's just crazy. Now, when I was really looking into Alibaba, I actually bought shares around $80, back in back in, what was it, 2016 or so, 2015, and I wrote it up to 200, and I got out, and things got really dicey. I mean, things got crazy. I mean, this thing went from 200 up in here all the way down to 130, which was a huge drop, and then it recovered everything. And then obviously right now what's going on globally. But the biggest thing that happened to it, I mean, because this thing has been declining. I mean, you look at Alibaba's chart here. All of 2021 has been in a decline. Now, today was crazy, which we're going to cover here. I mean, options were up 7,000, 6,000, 4,000%. It was crazy. It was crazy. But the reason why options were so underpriced is because, one, they weren't planning on the government making this call, like approving this, right? So that was unexpected. Two, this thing has been riding the 100-day and the 50-day down. So my orange bar here, my orange line here is the 50-day. The white bar here is the 100-day, right? So it's been riding this for the last year and a half, just straight down. I mean, just straight down. Sure, it has its bumps. You can make your money, but every time it ripped up, you could have bought puts and you would have made out like a bandit, right? I mean, earnings, it's gapped down many times on earnings. This thing has been getting decimated. Now, what's interesting to me, let's zoom in on this year. So far this year, we're about 5-6 months in here. This thing has been held down. And again, a lot of people thought this was uninvestable, but now China's starting to warm up. People are starting to warm back up to Chinese stocks. Alibaba was up $15 today. Baidu was up 2, JD was up 473. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, I will say that I do think that Alibaba does need to clear the 200-day moving average. I mean, the last time this stock was above the 200-day moving average, when was this? This was in January of 2021. So over a year, almost a year and a half, this has not seen the 200-day moving average. Now it's getting close. It's about $7 away. After hours right now, we're basically flat, and after hours right now, so it's not really moving. So the question is this going to sell off? I mean, for me, at this point, I want to see it clear this area before really trying to get aggressive with it. I mean, if it clears this area, I mean, it's going to clear a lot of people out, but it's hard to say at this point, like, how many bag holders are left. Like, how many bag holders are left? I mean, this thing went from a high of $319 down to $73. As the stock market, if you look at SPY, for instance, in 2021 and 2022 versus like what Alibaba did, SPY was basically the inverse. So everything was moving out of there. I mean, SPY, look, straight up. And if we look at Alibaba right now, straight down. So in one of the best markets in the history of America, Alibaba was cratering, and that was because of policy issues and everything that was going on. So I think it still has to clear the 200-day moving average, but it's looking a little bit interesting. So what I would like to see, honestly, if it comes back down, pulls back down, maybe pulls back down, and then to the 50-day or the 100-day. I don't think we want to see the 50-day. The 50-day right now is pretty low. It means at 95. If we come down to the 100-day, it's 105, pulls back 110, 105, consolidates, moves back up. The thing is, everyone's going to be very jumpy right now. Everyone's going to be like, hey, I need to get in. So we need to flush some of those people out that bought the top and looking to start accumulating a position. But right now I am liking Alibaba. However, it's going to be interesting to see how this reacts if SPY goes lower. We're going to have the CPI data come out this week. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how all this data starts coming out and how it reacts. I mean, today the stock market was just, I guess it was terrible. I mean, it tried to make a move higher and then it just failed, right? However, Alibaba, if you're looking at Alibaba, I mean, it was ripping. I mean, this thing went from 91 this week up to 121. It's up $30. I mean, this is insane. So, just because SPY is running or going lower doesn't mean Baba is, as we saw in 2021, where SPY was ripping and Alibaba was just getting decimated. So it's going to be interesting here. I would just say be cautious, be careful when trading Chinese stocks, because a lot of the stuff that happens with this, like today, is outside of our control. Sure, bags are to be made in this, but you have to stay safe as well. So like always, stay safe, stay green. It's us versus herd.